Hey guys, I just want to go over the strategic guidance framework so you understand how it works in relation to our project and the work that you're doing on your teams. So, to clarify, the strategic guidance framework, page 2, the one that you see here, is specifically to be done with your teams. And basically, what you're doing is you're taking the work from your business model canvas, the new one that you spent last week and the week before creating, and you're now mapping it out in this new way. And I want to just kind of go over what these different steps are, because what you're doing is you're synthesizing the separate pieces of that business model canvas into actionable items that can be um, quantified, right? Kind of rated. So let's go over this. There's 4 steps. And what I did was I put in the language to show where in the business model canvas this is intersecting. So this is what you do with your specific team. And what we're going to be doing is coming up with a shareable diagram of how our portfolio item, which is our team, fits within the larger organizational structure. Okay, and we'll be hitting that on Friday. We're going to go to start developing our organizational chart. But for now, what I want you to do is just make sure you understand how this framework works. Okay, because it's creating the language and tools that we need to be able to explain how our invincible company is invincible. Okay, so start here to the left. So you start here, maybe I should number these, but you start with number 1. I'm going to call it number 1, overall. So building a strong base. So the first thing that you do is you look at your business model canvas, your new one with your team, and you look at your cost structure and your revenue streams, right? That was the hardest area for us to work on because it was something that we didn't have anything to base on, right? But we're looking at, with the cost structure, what it costs to do what we're doing, revenue streams, how do we make money? So we don't have a lot of costs because we're right now working with volunteers and we're part of a school program. But what if we paid our volunteers, right? What if we earned some of our own money so we could do more things beyond what we're currently doing? So that's where our cost structure suddenly has items in it, right? Because we have this future vision of being able to pay our students, of being able to pay our talent, of maybe being able to purchase new equipment or have events or different things that are going to support our area better. Okay, and then our revenue stream is how we're going to make money, right? And we've talked about that a lot. Okay, so this is where on the overall you just kind of note it, right? What are the things you're doing? So boom, boom, boom. You would just put some bulleted items. And what I did here was I created a word a text box, and I just wrote text in it. So you can also create a text box and put your own text right here. So here we're talking about things we're going to do. Here what we're going to do is, so that's the first step. Next step is you go into exploit. Okay, so this is what I want to do. What's going to happen if I do this, right? How difficult is this to do? Kind of what does this sort of entail? Kind of like how good of an idea is it, but not in good, bad idea, but just like how do I understand this organizationally? So what we do now is we take some of these ideas, and my goal is for you to have 5 to 7 ideas, right? And they're going to be little points. So let's say one of my ideas is going to be to have student staff create paid advertising for running in my media publication. Okay, so I have 2 things. I'm paying my student and I'm paying them with money I'm getting from this advertiser, right? So I'm charging an advertiser and I'm paying a student. Okay, so that's great, right? That's helping me to build my cost structure and revenue stream at the same time. So how am I going to map this here? So here I'm looking at what's going to be the difference, right? So this is activities and resources. I'm using my campus resources, my student, my materials I own, to create something for somebody else that they're paying me for, right? That's my key activities. So I can make this as a little dot, right? And to do this, you can use drawer, you can use any tools you want, right? And you can make this as a little dot. And I want to think about here, this is a graph. So here I'm going to be thinking, what's going to be the return on my investment, right? It's going to be taking a little bit of extra time to get my student, to get my advertiser, to get the skills. And then how long is this really going to last for? Right? If I invest a lot of time into developing this, is this something that we're going to do once and then we're never going to do it again? Or is it something that's, which is going to be here, right? There's a good chance that we're not going to continue. It's way too sophisticated. Or is it something with a pretty low bar, pretty easy to do, and I have a good chance of it lasting forever, right? So based on how I'm interpreting it, and there's no right or wrong reason, I'm going to plot it somewhere in this area, okay? So these things here in the middle, this overall guidance, exploit guidance, that's kind of like my little boxes here, okay? So this is Strategizer's way of helping to explain what these areas are. So you can write over them. You can put a white piece over them. I can give you a sheet where they're not there, maybe if that's easier. But anyway, we can talk about that. So let's say I'm going to take that idea I have of having hired staff, paid staff to go and create paid advertising. So I'm going to put it kind of up around here, where that's a fantastic return on investment because it's a win-win. I'm generating income and paying students, and they're doing things they already know how to do. So very little death, disruption, and risk. This is something I can start now and continue on forever. And actually, I'd probably plot it up here, but my little words are in the way. Okay, so that's one example. And then what I would do is label it, right? So I don't know, maybe it would be like paid advertising. I would probably do this using a text box instead of my tool because I don't write very well with it. Okay, the next piece I wanted to talk about was this piece here, our Explore Guidance, okay? So with our Explore Guidance, that would be the next piece, number 3 that we come to. So if I'm going to label them, right, this is my number 1. This is going to be step number 2. Now this is step number 3, okay? And obviously this is going to be step number 4. Bink. All right, so if we look at step number 3, we are, actually I'm going to undo that, okay, because I am wrong. Okay, this is going to be our step number 3. Okay, and this is our last step, number 4, and you're going to see why in just a minute. Okay, so the next thing I do is I come down here, and again, this is like we're talking kind of right brain, left brain a little bit. So we're looking at those chunks of the business model canvas that we had originally looked at, the front room, the back room, the disruptors, and we're simulating this. Okay, so now what I'm doing is to transfer guidance. I'm looking at that value proposition and the customer segments. Okay, and again, I'm aware of that bottom. I'm aware of my cost structure and revenue streams, but now I'm kind of looking at it in my outward perspective, right? What am I offering to people? What am I transferring? What am I giving to them? Okay, so the 2 top areas, we're looking more the internal. Okay, we're looking at that backstage disruptor, right? What am I using my resources differently to do with this revenue and value that I'm creating? And now with my step number 3, I'm looking more outward. How am I engaging more of my audience, my customers? How am I interacting with them? What am I offering to them that's so amazingly awesome? And that's our value propositions. So here we're looking at our content, we're looking at our services, we're looking what we're able to do. So some of it could be revenue generating, but it's also content generating, right? So with this one, what we're looking at the amazing new things we're bringing from our project area. Okay, so what are our value propositions? What are our customer segments? What are the future products and offerings that you have that are going to build more engagement, okay, with our different audiences, on campus, off campus? We also can include alumni in there, and revenue, right? How are we reaching out and creating value for advertisers? We're bringing them on for the first time. How do we use our channels and customer relationships in new ways? So in this one, same thing, just like you did for number 1, you're going to be kind of labeling out, right? Putting like checklists, these are the different things I'm doing. Then what we do is we move to number 4, and number 4, we kind of quantify it. Okay, so that's where we take these ideas, and we want to have like 5 to 7 of our best ideas, and we think about how are we going to value this, right? How are we going to value this as looking at the return, what am I getting from this, and the risk. How much work, how much effort, how much new things do I have to do to make this happen? So let's say I decide that I want to have more targeted content, right? Let's say I want to go and do a shout out to the neurodiverse community on a global level, and I want to start developing regular programming with a neurodiverse theme to it. So I want to do a podcast. And every day, every week, I'm going to interview a different neurodiverse person about their neurodiversity and have this neurodiverse student identity podcast, right? So that's an idea. Okay, this is an example. So if I was to take that example, if I'm on the radio team, and I say we're going to have neurodiverse focused, student generated content done as a podcast, what's going to be my return? Well, this becomes something that's really shareable. It's shareable to a huge global audience. It goes beyond just what I'm doing right here at Landmark College. So I can have a pretty high return from that, right? But at the same time, before I jump in and put in that return, what's my innovation risk? Do I know how to make podcasts? Do I have the equipment for that? Do I know how to share and stream it? Do I know what kind of networks to get into for that? I might not be quite tuned in, right? We haven't really done podcasts before. That's something a little different. So maybe my innovation risk, I have a little bit of a learning curve. So it might be over here, but I could have a really cool return. So my dot might end up being over here. Okay, so this would be my podcast. We'll just put PC for podcast. Okay, so that might be how I rate that particular idea. And then we'll take 5 of these ideas and rank them in different areas. Okay, and that's what we're doing. That's how the strategic guidance framework works. Okay, so it's a chance for you guys to kind of go through and sort of assimilate all of that really good hard work that you've already done in creating those new business model canvas, creating your back room, front room disruptors, and your revenue disruptors. Okay, and now we're kind of bringing it together in this model where we're identifying 1 and 3 what these things are, and then we're quantifying, right? We're graphing them out, number 2 and number 4, of how they might work. Okay, and hopefully that helps to clarify, and we'll talk about this more in class as well. Thanks.